Where did Will Witten go down, guys, among the greatest Cowboys ever?
He's way up there. I'm reminded of when Tony Gwynn retired. There were all these numbers out there about him. They're like, there's no way that could be true. I'm making this up, but it's like Tony Gwynn faced Greg Maddux 300 times and like struck out twice. Just crazy. There's amazing facts about Witten. We really should have done a game. We had some real ones, and I wrote some called Witten or Written. We could have done it. You would not have believed this. This is where he ranks for Cowboys. I measure the Cowboys and what they do in that NFC East. Since the merger, the most receiving yards all time against the Redskins, ahead of Michael Irvin and Drew Pearson, number one, Jason Witten. Since the merger, receiving yards all time against the Giants, ahead of Art Monk and Harold Carmichael, number one, Jason Witten.
Wow.
Against the Eagles, number one all time, ahead of Amani Toomer and Gary Clark. Number one, Jason Witten. He is perfect. He swept the division. No one has been better in the division, all three teams as a Cowboy, than Jason Witten. That says it all to me without even getting into the leadership. An all-time legend in Dallas.
Top 5 dead or alive. You know, one of the best to ever do it. He had a Hall of Fame career, and what's crazy is he could have still done it. Even certain games last year where you look at the box score and you see, Jason Witten had a touchdown. How many times did they throw it to him? One time? He gets in the end zone. That's how dominant he's been over his career. One of the more consistent pieces. And I know it's almost like a terrible way to describe one of the more dominant tight ends ever is he was really consistent. Sure. But I mean that in every sense of the word. However you can define that, it should be a picture of Jason Witten, just a model of consistency. It's what not just tight ends. You don't say, hey, tight ends, be like Jason. I would say tight ends, receivers, I would say every position on the field. Safety. If you are a coach, be like Jason. Show up, do your work, and talk less, play more.
Top 5, you say?
Top 5 dead or alive.
Sure. Witten's legacy is not going to be questioned. Top 5 Cowboy of all time. Yeah. This whole generation of Cowboys, though, I'm conflicted with. 2003 to 2017 is Witten's career, 15 years. We think of the Cowboys, our national television every night. They won 2 playoff games. So I'm wondering in the history of like 20 years from now, how do we look back on this? It's not just Witten. It's DeMarcus Ware's Cowboy career. It's Tony Romo's Cowboy. Because this is a team that was on primetime every single night for 15 years. Every week we watched the Cowboys and Jason Witten and Tony Romo. Yeah. They won 2 playoff games. They never went to an NFC championship game. So in the all-time Cowboys list, Aikman's got 3 Super Bowls. Irvin's got 3 Super Bowls. Dion's got the Super Bowl. It's hard for me, you know, when you've got Emmett and Pearson and Staubach and all those guys. I want to do this 10 years from now. I think in the wake of Witten retiring, we say he was the best of that generation. He is the Cowboy that we identify with that. But all-time Cowboys, I don't know if he's in that conversation because of what they did with the rings as far as the fans go and their perception.
And I know less of that conversation. I know fantasy football starting in 2004, 2005, like really starting to love the NFL. So to me, he's the best in my eyes as far as me seeing him, the exposure they get because they are America's team. They want to get back there, and I believe Jerry when he says you're leaving a legacy, then you're inspiring us, and we want to make you proud. Almost is what I got from Jerry. But to me, it's the consistency. It's the Walter Payton Man of the Year, a very special badge that not a lot of people get. He's an all-around great guy. Clearly crushed the division, and he did it year in, year out. Just that he played for 15 years is amazing. But that he's in the top 5 all-time receptions, I don't know who's going to catch up to him anytime soon. That's the stat that crushes it for me.